Good evening and welcome to episode 68 of RealTuners Radio. We are back after a 3-week hiatus that included all sorts of fun things like lost laptops, 2 classes in Florida, a PRI, and getting the 2019 calendar filled with new classes. First, let's talk about the new classes for 2019. For you standalone users, we have 2 level 1 classes on the calendar. This class is just a slightly updated version of last year's EFI Basics and takes 2 days to complete. We start with the basics, installation, wiring, configuration, and first start, then work our way up to tuning student cars on the chassis dyno. 2 days gives you plenty of time to get all your questions answered, and our aim is to send you home ready to get your own project car running. We even offer help after the class in case you need it. This class is scheduled for January 19th and 20th at Busher Racing in Wakeman, Ohio. Also have this class scheduled in Las Vegas at Revolution Streetcars on February 23rd and 24th, our first time in Las Vegas. For those of you who've hit our level 1 or basics classes already, there is a new level 2 advanced class ready to go. We're working on April and May dates in the Midwest right now. Look for these classes featuring Holly EFI at 417 Motorsports with Blake Hughes and his team as soon as it starts to warm up in the Ozarks. And if you're into factory ECU tuning, we are trying out a new Mopar factory ECU class taught by Rick Tapp of Tapped Performance with help from Kevin at Psyched ECU Tuning. They're going to debut a new Psyched ECU training product for Mopars, so we'll cover at least 2 methods of tuning these ECUs for bigger cams, smaller pulleys, and more power. This class is scheduled for January 26th and 27th at Trick Pro Motorsports in Palm Bay, Florida. TJ and Bryce have one of the best shops in the country for attending these classes, and we're happy to work with those guys. So, thanks for tuning in tonight. We've had a 3-week hiatus, and we're anxious to get back in the saddle. Tonight we have no scheduled guests, just some of the usual hosts that drop by for casual conversation. As long as we don't have audio problems, it should be a good night to get your tech questions answered. So turn up the heat, put us on in the background, and get something done tonight. And of course, I had to restart it right in the middle. Cool. Is this thing live? I think, guys, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Outstanding. Holy shit, it's working. It may be a little flaky, may have some audio glitches. I'm working on it, everybody, but got a little basic slideshow put back together. Remember, everyone, I'm just going to say I lost it. I'm going to say I lost it and then it got stolen, but my laptop, guess it'll be 4 weeks ago this next weekend, in the Omaha airport. I took my laptop with me so I could finish my presentation for my Holly Advanced class at Kevin Smith's shop. And going through the TSA line, I left it in the tub, and for about 90 seconds.
Uh-oh. Lost something.
Take a drink.
There we go. I'm back. Take a drink. Everybody's going to get hammered tonight. I just keep watching that thing. So anyway,
listen, I can't drink that much tonight, okay? Because all I got here is some apple pie moonshine. So if you can make sure this thing runs right for a little while to keep me from being
let me call your tech support line. That apple moonshine, you'll be into the 3rd jar.
Well, let me put it this way, Bewley. I can't make no promises, and I'm drinking water tonight for fear of that same issue. If I get half lit 40 minutes into this, we're gonna have problems. Holy crap.
That'll just prove there is something in the water down there.
I guess so. I thought it was good water, but it's cold. It's in the teens. It's freaking cold out. No, so yeah, my laptop gets left in the tub. I go back to grab it. It's not there. Pissed off. I got to hop on the plane. I have a spare laptop, but that laptop doesn't have, and I have a Google Drive for all my tunes and stuff, but that laptop didn't have the presentation for my class that I did at Kevin's shop. So I literally stayed up all night, didn't sleep once I got there. Oh, and the flights were late. Got there at 9 o'clock at night. Fortunately, Kevin and his guys had the place set up. Just barrel up, I had to drive in from Orlando to Gainesville because there was a game. a big football game, and so apparently no luck getting hotels or flights in and out of Gainesville. So huge pain in the ass. I did a class completely winging it. It actually went okay. There's a couple of things I didn't cover and I screwed up time wise, but we ended up making huge numbers with William Tetro's car, and we also got to dyno Kimber's car, and Soccer Mom. Everybody knows it by Soccer Mom. And that went super good. So the class was all right. But I came back home, going through, there's like 9 lost and found departments. I call them every couple of days. I got a hold of the TSA, the lady that manages the TSA at the Omaha airport, super friendly. She said that, and I was able to tell her exactly what time I walked through there. She said they had it on video, and they're pretty sure that they saw my laptop getting picked up by a dude and put in the sleeve, and some guy dressed in a business suit. They said a tall guy in glasses and slightly bald, older guy, looked like somebody who'd return it later. Well, never got returned that I know of. So bought a new laptop. What sucks is the whole podcast guts. We had you may remember, I don't know, 10 or 15 episodes before, we had moved everything off to software on a laptop so that I could take the podcast with me. I could go to a track, I could go wherever we wanted, and all I needed literally was a mic and a preamp, plug into the laptop, and go. And Scott Evans had helped me set all that up. Well, I didn't back any of that stuff up properly, save any of the configs. So when that was gone, we literally had to build that stuff from scratch. And God bless Scott Evans, who is a fucking hero, and he's on here tonight. You're the man, Scott. For helping me get all this stuff cranked back in. I appreciate it. And I'll just tell you, tonight, Scott was almost not going to be on because he's busy setting up a sound system for the Pope. The effing Pope, dude. Down in Panama, exactly. So out of country stuff. But anyway, I thought that was super cool for helping us out and get this stuff put back together. Anyway, so that's all good. Then we had all the drama stuff that everybody read about. First off, let me just throw this out there. Huge thank you to everybody that donated or bought t-shirts or stickers for the legal fund, for the RealTuners legal fund. That helped tremendously. In fact, it brought a couple of guys out of the woodwork. I kind of broke the rules by just saying, screw it. I'm not supposed to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. Here's what's going on. Explain my story. And got some attorney help. Not one that we retained because let me tell you what, at this phase in this case, you're looking at a $30,000 down to get started and maybe $130,000 to take a case through trial if it got that far. And so, however, we did get some advice representing myself, and I was able to avert some really stupid stuff that I think is stupid, but it's technically legal, that I basically got wrangled into a corner because I'm representing myself and don't have a lawyer. And it was to the point where I was being ordered to turn over all my private communications. So if I send an NHRA Pro Stock team a calibration, that stuff, a file as an attachment, that was my big worry, was having to turn that stuff over. Fortunately got some attorney help, and they explained to me, hey, here's how you, number one, avoid the current situation you're in. And number two, here's a technicality that they didn't figure out or the other team didn't figure out. You file this motion here. And I'll go ahead and tell people it's simple. It was a notice that years ago I had filed bankruptcy and I was still under protection for that as part of a divorce that I had. And so that means if you're coming after somebody and suing someone, you have to do that in a different court. And so there was a technicality. We file a motion. It puts what's called an automatic stay on the case, and at least for the short term, averted. Now I got to find a lawyer, or I got to go back and file a motion for, I guess, a motion to quash the contempt order, something to that effect. I don't know. I'm not the lawyer. We're trying to figure it out. But thank you to everybody that helped and supported on that deal. Because frankly, from my position, my perspective, it's a real.
Take a drink.
Damn it.
Man, it takes me 3 or 4 seconds to hit that button to reset that. And I don't know.
Yeah, if you need me to log in, I'll probably do it remotely, but I don't know if I can do any good while we're podcasting. But let's try.
Right. It's 1 or 2 second glitches. I'm going to get you guys hammered the next 30 minutes. I might even fake some of those. But yeah, anyway, so that's the quick explanation of what was going on there. So long story short, and it's valid to file a claim against somebody if they say something on the internet that hurts your feelings and you feel you have a claim about it. Boom, you got the money to do it. Have at it. I'd hate to have spent the money that my opposition spent. But whatever, that's how it works. So that's my polite and hopefully non-offensive way of explaining that situation. It kind of sucks. It's a little bit stressful here on this end, but at the same time, whatever. And it's kind of funny. You still got 3 or 4 goons out there sending around really hilarious stuff. No, I haven't been to jail 13 times. No, I never beat up my ex-wife. I'm trying to think of what all the other shit did they post. It's really funny. It's all these a couple of haters. But anyway, no big deal. That's the truth. I have no problem laying that out there for the crowd. I got pretty thick skin at this point. So I just wanted to say thank you once again.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Can we talk about race cars?
Yeah. No, I hope it's not pissing everybody off or scaring everybody off. But listen, I owed the people who helped us out to point that out. So let's talk about race cars.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, Mark, what are you talking about? Your ass was all up here last week. Man, let's talk about this. I got screwed on on this situation too. And to point this out, I have friends that lost money on this deal that kind of got the shaft as well. So, but Mark is one of them.
No, yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I just felt it was time to talk race car now.
It is time to talk race car. That was only 6 or 7 minutes. That's pretty easy. Got that over with. So, you got it.
Backwards.
Dragon.
Still race car.
Race car.
Yeah. Hilarious, Jake. They call me the dragon. Okay, it's kind of an inside joke. Somebody's gonna slay the dragon. So that, I know you saw that message. That's great.
Oh shit! I thought I was on mute.
No. All right, we're back in line. It's good to see you guys back on listening. I am Mark. You guys watch the Facebook because I can't have a Facebook window open on this computer for some reason. It jacks up with the audio.
Yeah, no, I'm watching Facebook and I see a lot.
I have Mixler and I have Mixler
Eric
going on. Got YouTube.
Eric Yost is on. Damon Fleury, Jay Manley is here. Keith Farron, Scott McDonald, Chris Henderson, Scott Aiken.
All the good dudes.
Yeah, Blake
and Scott
Hughes
Aiken.
is listening.
No. Blake Hughes, thanks. Guess what? He literally just sent me dates for classes like 15 minutes ago. And so I could have put it in the intro. Hold on a second here. What did he say? Did we actually pick dates, Blake? Why don't you just call in, you bastard? Let's see here. Yeah, so one of these 4 weekends, 2 of these 4 weekends, we're going to have an advanced Holly class at Blake's. Either April 27th and 28th, May 18th and 19th, July 27th and 28th, or August 24th and 25th. I don't know. We might fill all 4 of those if he wants to. We'll see. But we did work up a Holly advanced class, and I did it at Kevin's shop, and I'm going to put some major tweaks on it, but I like doing it at Kevin's because he brings all these high-end racers, guys that have like 5 LDR championships and, Will and Kimber and all those guys who are just ridiculously good racers. And they gave a ton of good advice on how to beef that class up. And so we're going to run that at Blake's at 417 Motorsports this summer. That will be the place to come get your Holly advanced on. So anyway. Yeah.
Hey,
so
Frank Reyes from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Hi from Fargo, North Dakota.
Right. It's good to know Frank is listening. He's one of our buddies. We featured his car on here once a few months ago. He's got some wicked little lightweight shit. Cool. Thanks, Jacob Kite, Jake Miller. Good to hear from you guys. Jay Harper bought Zima tonight so he don't get drunk either. Yeah.
Hey, can I just take a minute and say congratulations to Blake?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's
going to be a daddy again.
No kidding. Number 3. Good for you, man. He's got 2 awesome kids right now. And it's so funny. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but like I've been creeping his photo albums all week because they've been frickin' on a cruise. And of course, my better half was over here going, "Hey, would be nice to be on a cruise." Yeah, it's perfect time of year. But we had little other things going on. But I'm creeping them, and I didn't even realize, I didn't see the post about them announcing that they're pregnant, which is cool. Him and Danielle. So congrats, you guys. That's freaking awesome. Have you met their little guy, Hudson?
I haven't.
No, he's a tank. He's hilarious.
Oh, I know he is.
He's awesome. No, that kid's going to be a fabricating, tuning mofo when he grows up. It's going to be ridiculous.
He's all about the race cars.
Oh, yeah.
He's all about the race cars.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll sit and watch a Ducks race stream for 3 hours and like pay attention, which I thought that was amazing. I saw him doing that when he was like 18 months old. Kid's like, give me the phone, put on the Ducks race. You guys do whatever you want. Classic stuff. So let's see what else. Oh, other stuff to talk about. So if you like events calendars. This is the time of year when I plan classes, and I try to do them after everybody else's events are planned so I can kind of work around the major events. I don't want to have a Chicago class when Chicago Streetcar Takeover is up there. Because, those guys, I don't like having people have to decide which event to go to. And every year, this girl in Blue Springs, Missouri, Alexis Golden, I don't even know her. I just know I follow her on Facebook. And this time of year, I look at her and she will handwrite, like literally take a picture of piece of paper and pencil or pen, handwritten schedule of all the major Midwest events, no prep, drag racing stuff, big, small, whatever. She's got like 40 events on there. So I contacted her and we made a Google Calendar of events and we put it up. It's at RealTuners.com and you can see right there under the top menu. It talks about the racing and the events calendar. Shout out to Alexis Golden. Haven't met you yet, but I'll meet you at one of these events eventually. And I actually set it up so she can maintain it online the automated way. And she's been doing that. So now we got the NMCA, NHRA, all the Midwest no prep stuff. I got to do the Dirty South no prep if they got a schedule yet. And we're waiting on No Prep Kings. They say that schedule will come out probably in April, but March or April. Other than that, though, all the schedule of events are up there and the RealTuners classes. So, which includes a Las Vegas class, Las Vegas people. I know I didn't formally announce it yet, but a couple have already signed up. They saw it show up on the website. Finally lined up a class at Frank Guerrero's shop, which I'm totally looking forward to. Yeah, I know, Scott. So that's going to be pretty cool. That, let's see.
I'm gonna try and see if I can't make it out to that one.
You should. February 23rd and 24th.
Listen.
Yeah, I'll make sure to get off of work so I don't have to do something that weekend.
Yeah,
I'm going to be. Everything, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, I'm going to that one.
Good.
Just so we can eat like fools on the strip at all the restaurants. And Frank's got a really nice shop. You're going to have a really nice class there. It's going to be a good time. He's got a really nicely laid out shop.
I've been looking at the pictures. It's nice and it's big and it's right there at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like literally, he is literally 2 turns off the interstate. So it's really easy to get to. The track is right there. So he's got a really nice location, really nice shop. Be a really good time.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Frank's been cool to work with. I have no idea what the market's like out there on the West Coast, but you California guys, everybody's been griping about it. Get a Las Vegas class going. So if it has 3 people or if it has 20, which is the limit, either way, we're all going to go out there. We're taking the better halves and we're going to have to spend a couple of days and just need a vacation anyway. Plus, if you go to Vegas and you know Scott Evans, not only can he show you a really cool facility that does concert sound for everybody, he can take you to the restaurants, and he can even tell you that Gordon Ramsay has a bunch of secret items on his menu and what you want to order. Skip the menu and order this beer braised pot roast for the effing win. God. And what did we have for, was it bread pudding dessert? Oh.
It was the deviled eggs.
Sticky toffee.
Yeah. God.
I told my wife I'm bringing her to Vegas just so she can eat there.
Yes. If you're fat like me, it's awesome.
Yeah. I had the beer braised when we were there, and next time I go, I'm having the lamb shank.
Oh yeah, Mary had the lamb shank, and it was badass. She had as much as she could, and then I finished the rest of that off. That's my better half.
Oh, Henderson's trying to jinx us so he can have another drink.
Oh, believe me, I'm sure it'll screw up in the next minute or two. Sit tight.
I'm not hearing any problems.
Derp.
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway, let's see what else is there. Ooh, I know what we could talk about. Somebody hit me up today.
Damn it.
Without fail.
All right, Henderson.
There you go, Henderson. There's your drink.
We can't hear
restart.
us when it glitches out.
Yeah.
Was that
No, I don't.
Henderson?
Yeah, the rest of the world can't hear you when it glitches out. It just goes quiet like that, and I just have to hit the restart button. We'll figure that out. That's my bad. I've been bugging Evans way too much.
It's something stupid. I just haven't been able to get on and help because I've been swamped at work with 9 million things.
Yeah, literally, Evans has been walking me through this on the phone. He's like, I can't remote in to set it up for you, but I can basically talk you through it. And he did. And he made me diagrams. It's pretty badass. But we'll get her figured out. It took a while. Remember, we spent 2 or 3 months getting this system working before I switched over to it. The problem is that the old system uses a hard mixing board, but it needed a tablet, a phone, and 2 laptops to run, which I didn't have 2 laptops. I only had one up until I bought this one. So anyway, that's what's going on there. There really was technical difficulties. It wasn't like cops showing up at my house or anything like certain people would have you believe.
Hey, Yuli, hit up Mixler for a second.
Okay. I have a super important question. I've been waiting for this to be live again. Question from John. Ooh. I need a recommendation for a bottle of some good whiskey bourbon scotch for 100 to 150 for Xmas. Maple straight. Okay. This is
well, to finish it off, I'm not a big drinker, but I like a Jim Beam Maple Straight.
He likes Jim Beam Maple Straight. It's the sweeter stuff. Yeah. Something that doesn't have a lot of burn, so you want to keep the proof low, under 90. 85 to 95. My recommendation at $150 is Elijah Craig 18 year if you can get your hands on it. That's just that's like retail price straight from, you probably won't find it at $140. The alternate to that is probably going to be a Blanton's at 80 to 90 or a Weller 12 year. Weller 12 years, about an $80 or $90 bottle too. Also, you can get the Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch, and that's a good one as well. So there's 4. My number one bourbon of all time, personally, better than anything Rip Van Winkle, Pappy Van Winkle, all that crap, is 18-year Elijah Craig. If you can find that bottle at $150, you got to pick that up every day. And if you don't want it for $140, buy it and I'll pay for it. I'll have you send it to me.
He's basically trying to get you to buy something for him.
No, dude, I'm telling you, Elijah Craig 18 year at $150 is the best. I'd
like to try that.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Yeah,
it is absolutely wonderful, and I will take every bottle of it you can find. It's not an easy bottle to get a hold of, and 21 and 23 year are even more difficult to get a hold of.
How many of those they make a year?
Oh man, they've got they're pretty regular on those now. They're, but still everybody grabs them up. They're easily over 5,000 bottles a year, those now.
Gotcha. But everybody wants one.
Yeah, they're well, Elijah Craig 18 year was bourbon of the year in 2017. So it's highly recognized and very, very popular. So it's not easy to get a hold of.
Yeah. Okay.
No, the Elijah Craig 18 year it doesn't have that spice finish like the small batches got. That extra aging, that extra 6 years, it really kind of mellows the finish out a little bit. And the whole that burn you get with small batch on the finish is not there.
Boom. Man, come to RealTuners podcast. You can get all kinds of kick-ass advice on crazy stuff.
Blanton's out of the freezer. I've never frozen it, but I do drink it chilled neat. And another thing, Blanton's, one thing I like to do with my Blanton's is I like to let it air out for a week. I'll literally take the cap off of it and let it sit unsealed on my counter for about a week just to let it go. And it kind of takes the edge off of Blanton's that you can get sometimes. So
where would a common place to find the Elijah?
Yeah, where do you find this stuff?
Man, most of the liquor stores, you get some liquor stores that specialize in bourbons. They're going to be the first ones to go to. And I can pretty much tell you that the 18 year is going to be a behind the counter bottle, or since it's kind of low volume, you'll probably the best thing to do is just find out which liquor store in your town it specializes in bourbon and then go in and ask for it. Cause it's probably not going to be sitting out on the shelf.
If someone's in a market where they have Total Wine, that's a good place to get some of the better stuff.
Yeah.
They'll also move bottles from store to store if you ask.
Yep.
So it's funny. Jared Prickard says he doesn't like the spicy, and I'm with him on that. I've tasted some of the quote unquote finer stuff, just a sip here and there. I don't like that spicy. It's not a sweet cinnamony. It's a dark cinnamony spicy taste at the end. Right, and I'm not even an alcohol guy, but I'm with him on that. Jarrett Prickett, I'm with you on that, buddy.
Sometimes it's sometimes it's spice, and sometimes it's the proof. Because, like, for example, Booker's, the second quarter release in Booker's this year, 2018 quarter 2, that thing proofed out at like 104 proof. So 104 proof bourbon is going to have that hotter finish, and it's going to have that burn that maybe a 90 or a 92 proof is not going to have. It's
is this stuff like you can order online? Can you get this stuff online? Because guys are saying they're from small towns.
Depending on some of your states, you can order it online and have it shipped in. The state of Kentucky, I can't commercially purchase it and have it shipped to me, but there's other states where you can. There's Bottle Spot. There's bottle trading places where you can try and find it. I just try to avoid the secondary market and go for nothing but the stores, because people try and jack the prices up on stuff on you pretty bad on the secondary market.
Nice. All right, I'm seeing the replies here on Facebook. I got to go on my phone, so I think we're okay. Cool.
Phil Strom wants to know how you feel about putting a wastegate directly on the turbine housing.
If it works, it works.
Yep. I'm not a huge believer. Delgado had some good reasons for avoiding it if you could. That might be kind of minor issues, but I mean, if it works, I think in a higher pressure situation, it's probably okay.
As long as you weld it properly, the challenge becomes that you're welding two materials that are very different. So you have what is probably a cast piece being welded to really nice stainless, probably is what you're probably using. So it just becomes, you got to use the right filler rod, and you got to preheat the casting a lot. You got to really put it in the oven, let it bake, and let it get hot before you weld, so that you're not messing up the metallurgy too bad.
I mean, if it was a bad thing to do, some of the, a lot internally wastegated turbochargers would never have come to fruition, and there literally would not be turbine housings for turbochargers that have the flange cast into the housing to bolt the wastegate to the thing. Me personally, I prefer that over weld. Get something like a teal housing, that way you can weld stainless to stainless, because the welding stainless to cast and having that whole dissimilar, welding two dissimilar metals like that, that's the only reason I would suggest somebody not do it, was basically for reliability and prevent it from cracking the castings and having a boost leak. So, but as far as location and doing it, I mean, it's been proven time and time again to work.
It works, yeah.
I mean, I've got no problem. If it holds boost, it holds boost.
And if it bleeds off pressure, that's what it needs to do.
Right. I would rather have it there than 5 miles upstream, because, at least it's carrying the energy all the way to the last second, and then, it dumps it off. So I'm good with it.
Hey, any new product releases from PRI that you guys saw that was cool? I worked for PRI.
The wet 481X block. I want one. Oh yeah. Wet 481X block with wet 481X heads.
Who's going to be the first to show up at Drag Week with that?
I want it like now.
Yeah. You going to put hydraulic lifters in that? Just kidding.
Well, no, not that one, because I could do a solid roller that doesn't need lash adjustments. Come on now, give me a little bit of credit here.
Nikita Kravitz asked, running a big block Chevy, what are the advantages of running an LS firing order? So there's actually 3 firing orders you can run with a big block. The standard 1-843-657-2. You can swap 4 and 7, or you can swap 4 and 7 and 2 and 3. The 4-7 swap is kind of the big one, and it takes some of the harmonics out of the crankshaft and distributes them more evenly across the main cap, supposedly. Nobody's ever proven that. The 4-7-2-3 would be the next step towards that same thing. The issue you run into is some intake manifolds have been developed on the standard firing order, and when you change firing orders, you can actually have maybe a little bit you can have an intake manifold issue where you have a higher percentage of difference of cylinder filling per cylinder because the intake isn't getting along with the firing order. So you have to watch that. But the main thing is it takes some harmonics out of the crank. And
that was a perfect question for Mark, by the way. I'm glad he saw that one.
It's supposedly easier on the main caps, but that's the big thing. You wouldn't really see a power gain except for maybe at super high RPM. Maybe.
It also moves around so you don't have two cylinders side by side that fire, creating a whole bunch of heat.
Not necessarily true. Because let's say you go to a 1-8-4-2-6-5-7-3. Well, 3 and 1 fire next to each other because it goes 1-8-4-2-6-5-7-3-1. So you have 3 and 1 instead of 5 and 7. Or if you swap 4 and 7.
Yeah, but your 7 is usually the one that has the problems, and that's the one where you're trying to fight the heat. 3 and 1 heat isn't as bad because you're getting cooler water at that point before it makes its way back to 7. It passes past that slightly cooler.
Well, the big block goes from the front of the block through the block, and then it goes up from the rear of the cylinder head forward. So actually, 5 and 7 should be cooled before 1 and 3. 1 and 3 would be the last.
I never thought about the cooling issue. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how I see it. I'll tell you what, I've been wrong.
To get a cam port is way more expensive. I asked about doing that on mine, and it was a considerable chunk more, and they also didn't have any ready. It was going to be a wait time to get it.
And I'll say this: I've been wrong before, and I reserve the right to be wrong again.
Yeah, but you also finished 9th and 10th at Engine Masters Challenge in 2 tries.
That means there's 8 guys that finished in front of me, right?
Yeah, and 41 that finished behind you or whatever. But anyway, hey,
we had a Pontiac. We had a Pontiac. I mean, that's
you start off with the bitch excuse. Oh, it's a Pontiac. We're not going to do that great to begin with. Did pretty good. What I thought was funny was
Cass one with a fucking MEL motor, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, he won with an MEL motor when there was 3 engines, right?
It was an MEL. It was an MEL motor turned into a Cleveland.
Yeah, MEL means Mercury Edsel Lincoln. For those of you listening, and John Kazi, who really, I need to have him on the podcast. He would do it. I need to get him on here because he would do it. I talked to him twice or 3 times a year. He'll just call me out of the blue. And if you've ever talked to John Kazi, it's funny because he's just real mellow, really laid back. He's like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I had a question about some ignition coils. Just real matter of fact, lay it out and help him out. Talked for 20, 30 minutes. Fun guy. We need to get him on the podcast. Interesting dude. But yeah, he won in the new era of Engine Masters Challenge, which is a little bit different. Those of us old schoolers that liked the old 50 invite method, it was a little bit more of a cutthroat competition and luck involved and, kind of reading the track kind of thing, almost like no prep. I enjoyed that better. But hey, next 2 questions. I got one from Adam Perkins and one from Keith Varon. I do not want to miss either of these. Do you see the ones I'm talking about, or you want me to read them?
I saw the one from Perkins, and I'm having to scroll back up to find it.
I'll read it to you. So, Stock Block 53 LS is a specialty turbo cam from LJMS needed for a max effort M1 methanol, non-intercooled, high RPM motor to keep the bottom end together. Is there a shelf cam already built for something like this, i.e. stage 3 or 4 possibly? I think he's talking about something high RPM that doesn't build monster torque and break blocks.
That would be a custom ground camshaft. You could try the 4 if you wanted to, but the 4 was not intended for use with alcohol. The valve events of that camshaft are more aligned with gasoline or E85 use. So I would to be honest with you, with what you're talking about wanting to do, I would prefer you just give the shop. Jesus Christ. Give the shop a call. And let's do you something custom for that application, and let me do the complete valve training cam to valve seat, and I would be happy with that, and wouldn't be a problem.
Just make sure you call, don't leave a message, and then go badmouth him on Facebook for not answering the phone, because we love getting those. Every time one of you guys do that, Baby Jesus doesn't kill a kitten. It's just Bewley messages us privately, which is about the same thing.
Thanks for outing me, Scott.
No, it's okay, man. I love you. And the reason we hang out, the reason you're on here is because I learned at James Short's class, you're a tuner. I don't care what anybody says, you're a good tuner. But it's so funny. It's not funny. It's just guys, when people wear you out, man, and they don't think about what it's like to be on the other end of that line. And I'm happy to be your springboard for those situations, but it's entertaining the number of people that just don't try to work with you, but want your stuff and then want it free or whatever. Let's get to the next one. Keith Farron. Keith is a good dude, man. He's a longtime Mega Squirter friend of mine and also the 64-bit tuning guy. They make really neat shit for getting rid of distributors on your Ford small blocks. Speaking of wastegates, my small block Ford, shocker, Keith's not an LS guy. My small block Ford has a single gate on the crossover from the driver's side. Is the single wastegate going to cause a back pressure imbalance in the exhaust manifolds that could cause or increase the likelihood of cylinder power imbalance? Effing smart question. Who wants to take that one? That's probably a Bewley thing.
Yes, 110%. The engine, I won't build a setup to where you're trying to control shaft speed of the turbocharger by only venting exhaust from one bank of the engine. It should be venting from both. No questions asked about that. So, yes, the short answer is yes. You could see issues from bank to bank between the vented bank and the non-vented bank. It's like the turbo systems that have the crossover underneath the oil pan that feed back into the backside of the passenger side manifold. After running one of those engines for so long, if you take the cylinder heads apart, take them off, take them apart, and start looking at things, you can actually see more heat stress in all the componentry on the passenger side bank of the engine than you'll see on the driver's side bank. So there is some considerations for as far as reliability is concerned by not having things even between the two sides of the engine.
I'm not going to say it can't be done, but I tuned a Haas Formula One engine that one side is turbo, the other side is just open to atmosphere. I don't know what kind of stresses or things it causes. I don't know if there's any major issues, but it's done.
I did a Cosworth DFV that was a similar setup like that, but you're running so much back pressure on those setups that I think when you're at like 140 PSI that it becomes maybe less of a concern because the pressure differentials are huge between that and atmospheric, but that's just my opinion. But I saw that too on a car that was an X Formula style car.
I'm just saying it can be done and raced that way. I don't know if I recommend it. Like John is saying, there's a lot of weird things that happen there. I don't know that part of it. I just know that it can be done. Doesn't mean you should, but it can.
Cool. Jason Dickey, what's the proper way to diagnose faulty crank sensors? Read and see if they have crack sensors. Get a better crackhead? No. Crank sensors. He's a buddy of mine, motorcycle guy. First off, look at the factory procedures. Some of them have you measure the ohms going through them. If they're VR sensors, you'll measure the resistance.
Wait. This is where we get into some of the internet fun from the last couple of weeks. And you do the derp voices and why don't you pull out your scope and put your scope on it of all those jackasses?
I would say that. That was my next thing to tell him.
I know you would. They were making fun of you because they don't know how to run a scope.
Oh, I got you. There's somebody talking smack. There's not enough goons on here tonight. I'm really disappointed. There was supposed to be like an army of goons, but they all switched over to Holly. But so anyway, let's see here. What else?
I resemble that remark.
Let's see. No, it's okay. It's a fine move. Crankcase pressure monitoring versus coolant pressure monitoring are both. Frank Riaz, both, buddy. You can do both for cheap. Let's see. God, there's a lot of good questions on Facebook here.
In class.
Sorry?
That was a good thing that you're talking about in class on the pressure.
Oh, yeah. Hey, is that Tony?
Yes, sir.
Nah, good to see you, man. Tony Gagnon, one of my tuning buddies. So, yeah, I try to talk about the stuff I've actually experienced and I know a little bit about or have at least a little bit of comfort level with. But let's see here. What else? Oh, and of course, Nagel's calling me. Hey, dude, I'm on a podcast right now.
Tell him if I can get off the phone and get on a computer, he could join us for once.
No, you know what? I could actually
help yourself download an app.
I could have patched him in. I should have just said hello and patched him in, but he's going to call and be cussing about something. Oh, here's one we can knock out quick. Austin M. Rainey. Can you get a decent idle part throttle on a sub 400-inch motor with 800-pound build atomizers and alcohol? Yes. On alcohol. Yes. Not on gasoline. Pretty much not on ethanol either. But on alcohol, it's going to be a fat idle. It's going to be a race car idle, but it'll idle fine. It'll just be spitting liquid fuel out the exhaust and milking up the oil quickly. But yeah, you can. Let's see, what else? Bobby Parks, good to see you, buddy. He's going through the same crap I am. Let's see, what else? Bewley phone tag is fun. Oh, Daniel Brummett's losing Bewley points. Daniel, did you guys
All right,
see
I got one I want to take.
Go ahead.
Me and Daniel's, we've been trying to Daniel, like,
don't make me post a picture of Daniel Brummett from, what was he,
that's
9 years old? That's that and Ray
Is that
Clemp.
really him?
That's him.
Is that really him?
That legitimately, he posted that up first in one of our groups. He's like, yeah, this is my kid and this is me. Check it out. My kid has this really funny smile just like me. And people are like, oh my God, that's like the meme of magic picture. But
that's awesome. That's awesome. But me and Daniel had a really interesting problem we've been trying to figure out, and he never called me back and never let me know if he figured it out or not. He's got an intake face angle not being on the angle it's supposed to be on kind of problem, and we don't know where it's at. We don't know where the off is at. It's kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. There we go. He sent me a picture of the Elijah. I can't put up pictures yet, guys. Sorry, I'll have that next week. I'll have that back. Danny Thunder is watching. Cool. So my friends from Iceland, his tuner actually came over to my class at Kevin Smith's shop a couple weeks ago from Iceland. I think the New Zealand guy wins the distance award, but having a guy from Iceland was pretty cool. God, I need to post up some pictures of the things these guys tuned. They are... What are they? Formula off-road buggies? Super competitive, super fast, climb up a vertical rock face, you go shooting into the air 100 feet. Crazy, crazy stuff. But neat.
I've done 2 or 3 engine combinations for those guys.
You have, because you did some cams for the one I worked on.
Really?
Yep.
And here's those guys, they're different from anybody else because if you give them something that works, they don't go and change shit every year.
No.
I was talking to one of them, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I can't remember. I'm sure it was Bjorn or something.
Christian Halfordson. Yeah, it's him.
Or something like
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking to him. It wasn't him, but I was talking to one of the other guys, and he called and he wanted a new cam, and the only reason he had a new cam is he broke the old one, and it's like 5 years old. I couldn't even look the specs up on it. It was so old, it wasn't in any of my computer systems.
They're definitely into developing stuff, and the kind of stuff you run into now is we're like, okay, this guy basically lives on a rev limiter. What's the way to make this thing work? And we're switching the Holly over to our own advanced table soft limiter, and seems to be working. But so anyway.
So
all right.
Nikita Kravitz asked if any of you guys that have built engines played with rod to stroke ratio. Is there any hard benefits to it, or is that almost like snake oil?
That's Mark. Well, go for it.
Yeah, and here's the problem with rod to stroke ratio. It's something that you can be aware of, but it doesn't really factor that much into the design of the engine. Like there are so many things that are more important than rod to stroke ratio, such as where the wrist pin is in the piston, because where you place the wrist pin is going to determine how long the piston skirt can be and where the rings are. And the shorter you put the wrist pin, the less stable the piston is going to be in the bore, and the quicker you're going to have longevity issues with the skirts. As you make the piston taller, the piston becomes heavier, but it gives you more room to move the rings around. It gives you this, it gives you that. So that the piston design is going to be more important than your overall rod to stroke ratio. And then stroke itself, go with the cubic inches. So that's going to give you a shorter rod to stroke ratio. So what? Cubic inches are more important than, yeah. And people say, well, I'm going to put the short stroke crank in it so I can turn RPM. And that's the biggest crock of shit that I've ever heard.
Wow, because the Fargo guy just cussed. I'm taking a drink.
Yeah. Well, they go, I'm going to put a 4.8 crank in my 6.0 so I can rev it up. Well, there's guys, that's a 3.6, the stock 6-liter is a 3.6 whatever stroke. It just so happens to be the same stroke that a 500 cubic inch NHRA Pro stock uses that used to go over 11,000 RPM. There's nothing wrong with a 3.6 inch stroke,
So you don't got to replace valve springs every pass like we do. That part sucks.
Well, right, but they're going, I want to put a short stroke in it so I can turn a lot of RPM. And I'm telling you, the piston speed isn't an issue at that stroke level. So
No, there's not.
There's no reason to go to give up the cubic inches. It doesn't make sense,
Outstanding.
Now these guys with these little spoolie things that they put in the exhaust, then possibly
the easy button.
possibly, yeah, the easy button. Then they can cover for the lack of cubic inches with just more boost, but it still give me I'd rather have a twin turbo 500 than a twin turbo 300. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but
my 540, which is a 425 stroke, is probably going to go 8,500, no problem.
Probably. Wait till it does.
There's so many other parts involved to make it go there. It's not just the rod and stroke that make it go the high RPM. You have to have valve springs right. Push rods have to be good, sturdy, thick. Got to have the right rockers on it. Got to have the right lifters in it. It's more than just the rod and the stroke to tell you how high you can spin it.
Right. And so a lot of times the guys just do the D-stroke deal with the 4.8 crank because on the stock parts, that crank is stronger than a 362 just because of the journal overlap.
Okay, and I'll agree with you there. I did that 665-inch big block Chevy for the boat, and actually had a discussion with Brad Nagel about that, and we were talking about the crankshaft because as the stroke gets longer, the crankshaft becomes weaker.
Yes.
And then it requires a better and better quality part to overcome the
lack of journal overlap.
Yep.
So I will start looking at larger crank journals despite the bearing speed issues.
Right. Possible.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
I'm
just kidding.
You just got to think about that though. The stock, Jonathan Coleman, I posted a dyno comparison year over year, same dyno, two different combinations year over year, 333 inch versus a 388. And you can see the obvious differences between the two combinations. But, when you're trying to do stuff on like the cheap, man, that 4.8 crank will take a beating. We've gone sevens on that crankshaft.
Shout out to Jonathan Coleman.
However,
the DBR guys are in the house. Sorry.
Just talking in the physics and the
just the
theory of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's debunked. 3622 is short enough. You don't need to go shorter to turn more RPM.
Let me know when we can move on from that one. I got another one.
Okay, go.
Well, so Vincent Huff put on here continued prayers for Jason J. Ram Consume. Anyone available, stop by their event and show support. You guys know VJ Ram Consume, Big Daddy Super Racer. His son Jason, who's a friend of ours and has been to our class, they busted a head gasket in a 2JZ racing his dad's car and caught on fire, and fire got up in his helmet and burned his face up pretty good. And I'll tell you what, this guy's a tough son of a bitch. I saw they were posting about the accident like as it happened. And so I just sent him a message saying, hey, dude, I know you're going to see this in weeks or a week or two or whatever. I just wanted you to wake up to a message that was positive, thinking about you, said a prayer, whatever helps. Let us know, get you on, talk about it on the podcast. If you're, just want to know that you're okay. And they posted a picture. This guy's face got burned up and lost a layer of skin. He got 2nd-degree burns on his face. Dude, 30 seconds later, messages me back. I'm waiting on the ambulance to show up, and then I'm riding to the hospital. I'm like, I'm sorry. I thought, all right, dude, you are a badass cowboy, tough guy. Yeah, I thought that was impressive. If you know Jason, he's a big teddy bear. He's a good dude. But hopefully he gets to hear this later. I don't know. I think he's in the hospital healing right now. Or is he out? He might be out. I don't know. But anyway, let us know where you're at, Jason, and how things are going. And somebody get in touch with him and tell him we talked about him because we like him.
Hospitals suck. I hope you're doing okay, guy.
Yeah. Burns suck too. Jonathan Coleman's listening. DBR guys. God damn, they laid out another big number the other day. With the car's got air conditioning. What in the hell? He's setting the standard for drag week small block power outer stuff. Let's see. Scott McDonald. Yes, we do need to do a class up there, dude. Find the shop. Let's get it going. We'll do it probably May or June. Oh, let's see. I think we're about caught up on questions there. But
speaking of PRI, there was a 900-inch Sunny's motor sitting on a stand, and it had an air conditioning compressor as part of the footrest.
He's going. All these guys want this Drag Week Unlimited stuff. Hilarious. I saw her. Go ahead.
I was just spending a lot of time drilling over that engine that was in Jessel's booth. The pictures from it, that short deck, big block Chevrolet with the crazy ass cylinder heads and the offset lifters and just all kinds of crazy shit going on there with that thing.
Yeah. What else we got here?
There was lots of engine candy at PRI. The Moran billet motor. I don't know if anybody saw much in the way of pictures of that. That was pretty nice. And then somebody brought up the 491X water stuff. AG in the AJPE deal, they had the water block and the water heads, and yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that stuff here shortly.
Hey, Dahlquist, queue up on that question for Zach D. Slevin. I want to do a couple more of these, but then I want to talk. We got Rick Tapp on the line here, and I want to talk about our class, our Mopar class coming up in a couple weeks. But you see that one from Camshaft question for NA? Go ahead, take that one.
Camshaft question for NA small block that is restricted to factory production heads and block needing to pull, let's say, 15 inches of vacuum at 1,000 RPM. What do you usually like to see in a camshaft for vacuum restricted engines, or what have you had luck with if you have dealt with in, let's say, a 408 12-to-1 with ported LS3 heads at intake, just for example? Well, I'm on like restricted production heads. Let's take it a step further. Let's talk about two-barrel stuff because I have a lot of experience with that, and that's a lot of restriction. Compression is king because you don't have good cylinder filling. So every little detail you can do to keep the compression where it's at, because a 12-to-1 two-barrel motor will act like a 10-to-1. So compression is king. And then induction is area over time. And if you can't have any more area, meaning, you can't port the head or you can't make the head flow more, the only thing you can do is add more time, which would be duration. So restricted motors tend to favor more duration than an unrestricted motor. And that will go through, you'll see it, the better the cylinder head you have, the less duration it needs to make power at a certain RPM. So if you go from a 23-degree small block Chevy drag race engine that might like 280-something degrees of duration at 50 thousandths, and you go and put a splayed valve symmetrical port head on it, it might only like 260 degrees of duration to achieve the same thing, because the induction is so much better. So as the cylinder head and induction package gets better, you need less duration to make power at the same RPM, if that makes any sense at all.
Cool. Hey,
a cam to make 15 inches on an LS3 is, I don't even know that LS3s make 15 inches of vacuum from the factory. That whole
Some
engine
of those
is
are like 10, 11 inches of vacuum.
That whole, the LS3 came around and it came to be because the engineers wanted to decrease pumping loss. They wanted the motor to run with decreased engine vacuum. So getting 15 inches of vacuum on an LS3 headed LS engine might be a job.
Let's get the Rick on here. My good buddy. I've known this guy longer than I've known any of you guys. Actually, man, I learned some of my tuning tricks from this guy way back in the day, 20-some years ago back in Omaha when we met. He now, Mr. Rick Tapp, runs Tapped Performance and also helps out part-time at Dynocom with tech support and install, stuff like that. You saw him in the Dynocom booth at PRI, and you saw him on all their videos because he's the Rick, man, the effing Rick. So unmute your shit, Rick. Hold on, I'll unmute you. Okay, now you're unmuted. Wait. Oh, it won't let me. You need to unmute yourself, buddy, so we can hear you. Where's the Rick?
I pushed the button.
There he is. All right, good. Welcome aboard. So, all right, this is what we're going to do. Let's see. What is our date? It's January 26th and 27th in Palm Bay, Florida. So, dude, we're going to do a Mopar class. Rick is one of the more leading edge guys tuning the Mopar stuff. I know he's figured out a lot with the transmissions, does a lot of the blower stuff, Hellcats, etc. And he also worked with Kevin Sykes-Bonnet at Psyched ECU Tuning, SET, and they are going to bring a program to our RealTuners class in Palm Bay, Florida at the end of January. Highly recommend traveling for this class, guys. It's super cheap to fly to Orlando, and Palm Bay is about 45 minutes away from Orlando on a rental car drive, but the hotels $100 a night gets you a really nice hotel. So it's one of the cheapest places you can fly into and take one of our classes. So anyway, he's going to do this. I don't know, Rick, what are you going to cover, man? What are your thoughts on this?
Man, it just got thrown at me. I guess the hotels sound cheap enough, so I guess I can go.
I'm paying for all that, man. Yeah. No, I mean, we're going to start off with the basic stuff, getting set up, and we're going to do a little bit of HP tuners, a little bit of SET, is my understanding. I think those are the two most popular methods at this point in time, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, most of the people that come to my shop, if they're on something else, we switch them over just because the platform is better, more things you can tune and change, right, on HP tuners and especially SET.
Right. No, cool.
So yeah, I think we'll just kind of, get everybody up to speed. I mean, what I'm hoping is most of the guys that want to go to this, because I think it's going to be more of like an introductory. So the guys that come to this, or they really haven't even looked at a Mopar tune, or they have, and they're like, I have no idea what the hell any of this means. What do I do? And get them to where they can tune a lot of the simple stuff, the basic mods that all these guys are doing to these cars, and be comfortable tuning it and know that it's right and get it out the door.
Okay, so if you're looking to get started with the stuff, maybe you're a guy that works at a shop and you want to add Mopar to your stable as far as tuning goes, this is the class for you. Also, we'll spend the first hour or so getting everybody up to speed on the logger and setting that stuff up so they know what they're doing and can follow along, but I know it's also not going to be completely dumb and basic either. We got 2 days, right? And we got a dyno and we got a number of cars we can tune with all sorts of mods. So really that's what it's going to be, is it'll be, since it's the first of its type for the class for us, it'll be informal. And this is why we do these for 2 days, so that if we screw something up in the first 8 hours, we have the whole second day to go over whatever we missed, or whatever you want to cover and weren't happy with, or just weren't clear on yet. So that's the reason we do 2-day classes. It just really, trying to cram stuff into 1 day is hard for us. But anyway, so come check it out. Check out the Mopar class. It's a one-time only thing right now. If it's great and if it's big, whatever, we'll do a couple more. Demand is a little bit different for that type of stuff, and we are not. I mean, we're again, we got Tony Gagnon on here. Those guys are the other end of the spectrum. If you want to master this shit, then you go to them at the tuning school. But otherwise, worth checking out. It's nicely priced, course to get you up to speed and going on this stuff, so you at least know what you're doing and talking about. Let's see. Rye's doing Christmas stuff, so yeah, he's not here tonight. Yeah, I wanted him to do a nice, sexy intro to kick us back in. Let's see. What else, guys? Any other questions? Marky, you see anything in there? No, Frank Riaz, there are no seminars or webinars on fuel tech, but there really needs to be. I need to do some over the winter. I need to work with the fuel tech guys.
Here's one for Bewley. I answered it vaguely, but he says, with a 76 millimeter turbo being the limit in Ultra Street and MX 235, would a stock block 5.3/6 liter LS be semi-competitive, or would going to a larger cubic inch 23 degree small block Chevy be a better option? Options or thoughts, or opinions or thoughts. And it's my opinion that in that class they're making enough power where you can't ignore the advantages of the stability of an aftermarket block.
Yeah, some of those guys are making, astronomical power with some of the class specific Black Magic Voodoo turbos. So Extreme Street, which is like the NMCA's kind of version of Ultra, it's a little bit different, but they actually cross over now. And the man who has won the Point Series championship in that class the last 2 years runs a sub 400-inch engine. So.
Here we go. Kenny Howard's got a kick-ass question. I like this guy. I follow him a lot. Basically because he lives the life I used to live. He's like 15 years behind me, and yeah, probably 20 years younger. But all right, ignition config question. Rising versus falling. What is it that allows the wrong edge trigger to still work, albeit with bizarre results and outcomes? Back in the day, it was the difference between blowing coils up literally and the car running, but I had a strange situation this weekend where the coils and all worked fine. However, the timing map was way wrong, despite the TDC angle being correct. What he's talking about is systems that Holly's got this now. Version 4 and 5 had these, but Megasquirt's had this forever. basically it says, am I triggering off the rising or falling edge of the spark output of the ECU? In other words, it's going to go from a high voltage to low or low to high. Okay, if that trigger's going from high to low, okay, then that's a falling edge trigger. Okay, and that's typically what your LS coils and your 5-volt type smart coils, your IGN1As, are triggered off that falling edge. You can accidentally have it the wrong way and adjust your trigger angle and still get spark at idle to be in the right place. But as your dwell changes, it will change the actual timing, and you rev the engine, you put different loads on it, you'll get wildly different timing than what you thought you had. You'll also get wildly different dwell if you have that wrong. If you have an IGN1A set to a rising edge in Megasquirt speak, you got to be careful because some systems actually make that backwards. On some older Megasquirts, that was a processor pin thing, and it was inverted on the other side. But here, I'll just tell you how I know. I double check when I'm wiring coils myself. This is how I get them right. First off, I make sure I understand how they work. If they're a coil that has a built-in igniter, that's a smart coil. That's an LS type of any type of, the D585s or anything they put on LSs, IGN1As, any coil that's a smart coil, and you can tell because it's got more than 2 wires going to it, right? Those take a 5-volt pulse. As soon as they see 5 volts positive, they start charging the coil. As soon as they see it back to 0 volts, that voltage falls from high to low, they release the spark, and boom, that's the mark where your spark happens, okay? If you have that backwards, it'll actually be charging when you think it's not and not charging when you think it is. You'll end up with a weaker spark or too much dwell, and you'll melt the coils, all kinds of weird shit. But what I do is I'll sit there with a voltmeter, and I'll say, hey, key on, and I'll look at the spark output on this ECU before I hook it up to the coil. I'll make sure it's sitting at 0 volts. If it's sitting at 5 volts, I know it's wrong. You want it to be at rest, not charging the coil, okay? Now, what's an example of something backwards? An MSD ignition where you're running a distributor, okay? Those guys are the opposite. They're rising edge. So how it works on those, the white wire on the MSD, every MSD box has a white wire input to trigger spark. You ground that sucker to start charging, and when you let it off the ground, it fires. When you ground it, it goes to 0 volts or low, okay? It goes from high to low. Okay, so the falling edge actually triggers the charge. The rising edge triggers the spark. That's why you can get that backwards, the falling and rising edge configuration, and think it's still working, but be melting your coils. So the way I check that one is, if I'm driving an MSD box, I'll have the key on, and I'll make sure it's sitting literally at 12 volts on that spark output, the high voltage, which means it's not trying to charge a coil, okay? If the spark output is inverted, it's going to be sitting at 0 volts, and that's going to be trying to charge your MSD CDI box. So that's how that works. Play that back over and over, slow it down, and because I know I speak too fast or whatever, there's not a lot of time on these, but hopefully, Kenny, that made sense. But if you figure out the dwell, that the time changes and the ignition timing angle changes, you'll see that you're actually changing the dwell period when you thought you were changing the rest period, and it can really do weird shit to timing coils. It can also destroy the engine. So, because your timing isn't what you think. Marky, you got any other ones you see?
The 4.5 minute typing I was doing.
Well, actually, Jacob Kite has a quick cam question. Who do you suggest for a cam and lobe design on a single turbo 5.44 valve? And that's the Bewley thing because I really don't know. Bewley.
I don't do modulars enough to have an opinion.
More chains than brains.
You could recommend him? Yeah, but do you have someone you could recommend him to?
I would call. I don't even know who's big into the modulars. Rich Grove would probably be who I would call.
Who are those guys? There's a couple of modular guys that work on them pretty good. I forget their names. Damn it. I need Jason Hager or somebody to tell you who to buy your modular cam from. I'll talk to those guys, or Curtis Forsberg. They seem to be doing it right.
Or MMR or the AccuFab guys. I mean, they're not complete slouches. And BES has made some noise with modulars.
They did.
I don't know. The most evil modular motor I ever saw was John Kazi's, and he was just using comps.
Yep. It was pretty basic. It's pretty funny in how many different cams that he tried, too. All right, what else we got? Are we timing out already? Guys wimping out on us, wearing out? Only been on an hour and 4 minutes. Let's see here.
Just hanging.
I'm reading here. So, yeah, we don't know on the 4-valve modulars. We don't have the guy on here tonight. We could get, I would track down Jason Hager. what is it? Unchained Performance or Chained? Something. 2 Chains. Jason Hager. He's good, dude. He knows. Let's see. Tricky Ricky Tippy Tapper. That's guy. We got a goon on the YouTube. The solo goon, man. I feel for you, buddy. You're flying in the face of adventure by yourself. Let's see. Here. Let's see. That's about it, guys. You see anything else on Facebook? Any other questions before we bounce? Oh, Megasquirt Source. Where to get some Megasquirt stuff? I like EFI Source these days. And if you go to msextra.com, they list a whole bunch of dealers there. So let's see here. Who's 2JZ GMC AD pickup? Is that in the picture feed? Oh, very cool. Timothy Brunner. In the picture feed, that is sideways, sorry. That was Gary Hart's, and it's not a 2JZ, buddy. That's a Atlas, a GM Atlas motor that Gary Hart put in there in his mid-70s with a turbo. And it made, on a Mustang dyno, it made like 410 at the wheels. It wasn't crazy. It actually felt crazy in that old truck. But it was really cool. He had a TH400 behind it, and it was neat, and it was faster than yours. Just kidding. Maybe. Probably not faster than Tim's truck. Todd Warren, that's it. Todd Warren, good with the 4-valve mod. And so talk to him. He went to one of my classes. That's who I was thinking of. Okay. What else? Dealer? I don't even have exit music queued up. I'm gonna have to figure something out. One of you guys needs to.
Do we need to start singing or something?
Baby, it's cold
Christmas
outside.
music.
Vaya con Dios.
I think it might have just glitched again.
Did we lose?
It glitched for a
That's
second.
a great exit
sorry.
right there. That's
No, I got it back.
Yeah, that's
God
great.
damn it.
Just fail.
You think you know what it is? I think it is a buffer thing now that I said about Delgado called it earlier.
I'm fairly certain I can find it.
No problem. Okay, so anyway, well, check out our classes, RealTuners.com. Oh, and by the way, sorry, I don't want to start the music yet. It sounds like we've got some dates from Blake Hughes. I got text messages from him I'm going to follow up on, so I'll make some announcements tomorrow. Follow us. You can go ahead.
At least he's responding to somebody.
Oh, man, I could tell they had a lot going on because I started hitting up Danielle with the jokes yesterday, and she wasn't having it.
Yeah. I'm just giving him shit. He's got a lot on his plate right now.
They're doing a good job, though. We love our 417 guys.
Given the fact he was giving me shit earlier, I'm going to be more than happy to return the favor.
Right. So, anyway, I guess that's about all we have for the night. So check out some of the RealTuners.com website. We got the racing and events calendar on there, and we've got the live tuning classes. Definitely check those out. We got Las Vegas, Ohio, and Florida coming up with 2 level 1 standalone classes, which is the EFI basics. And then we've got the 1 Mopar class that Rick's going to teach for us, but I'll be there. Other than that, I think thanks everybody for tuning in. Sorry we were off for 3 weeks. We apologize for the hassle there. Thank you to everybody that supported the Legal Fund. We really appreciate it. It's been a huge pain in the ass, but hopefully going to go away soon. That's just all we care about. Other than that, everybody take care, have a good night, and we will see you next week.